Cal. Thanks a lot for joining. How you doing?
I'm good. Good. Obviously a nail biter last weekend, but excited for the next one. Yeah. How about you?
Okay, so like 4 minutes of overtime. That's a long time without a goal, and it's like sudden death at any possession could result in a goal. What is that like from the bench, right? Because you obviously go through these roller coaster of emotions where it's almost like a basketball game where a basket would be a win, right? Like lacrosse is very high paced like that. So what was those 4 minutes like against Georgia here at KeyBank Center?
Yeah, a little bit different than hockey, obviously, right? Where not every possession can result in a goal. But my wife was actually watching from home, and I was explaining to her that it's almost like really highs and lows, but almost between each shift. So, when the ball is in our defensive end, you're gripping it a little bit. You're kind of like, oh no, every single shot or play towards the net. But then when we turn the ball over and we get it on offense, there's excitement there, right? Here's our chance to win it. And so you kind of go through a high and low every single shift and every time you get back to the bench. But we were happy to get that one from Bernsey.
Now, Bernsey scored in OT, but he also had what looked like maybe the game-winning goal at the end of the game, which was maybe a 10th or 2/10 of a second over. Did you guys think it was good? Like when it happened, did you think, like we won it and then it was defeating, or did you know it looks like it's too late?
Well, I think it was Dane. Actually, Dane had that
Dane,
shot. Yeah, they locked Bernsey off, so Dane shot it, but so everyone ran onto the floor. I actually, if you watch the tape back, I was a bit late and delayed because I know that they review everything in the last 2 minutes. So I didn't want to get ahead of it. I did think it was good personally. And which 0.1 second, right? Which is interesting because they put back time on the clock not long before that. And if they had put 0.1 second back on the clock more, game over, right? But we were just that close. The one thing that I thought about though is that our momentum late in that game was pretty good. Anytime they got ahead, we responded pretty quickly. So I was comfortable with how our defense was playing and how our offense were getting chances. So things were looking good for us.
Okay, so now you guys have that big win and you move on to go from a single elimination game to now a best of three. Does it feel different going into best of three after having this high pressure? Every possession in that game matters so much that I don't want to say it's kind of a letdown a little bit emotionally, but it's like, okay, well, the first minute of the game doesn't really matter because it's a best of three right now. Like, how's the approach changing between the two games?
Yeah, you nailed it. I think if you look across the league, almost all of the games were really low scoring. And so what happens in those one and done games, just, you can have a bad night defensively. Your goalie could, not be seeing the ball well that night. So there's just a ton more pressure there. So we do have a little bit of a breath here. Obviously, you want to maintain that momentum going into the best of three, but you're right. You have a bit of time. If you have a bad quarter or a bad start, you can get back into it. But it's super important because there's not a lot of turnaround, right? Friday to Sunday, and then a week between if you go to game three. So you do want to get off to a good start. That's really important. So, pros and cons to it, but certainly we have a little bit more of a breath with it being a best of three.
It's not a regular thing to play 2 games in 3 days in lacrosse. Usually it's a game a week and then you get a bye week. But the experience of last year's playoffs, do you guys have the edge knowing that you play Friday, Sunday, and that you've done that last year in the playoffs and previous playoff years? You know and understand what needs to be done a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're used to that, right? We do have one doubleheader usually a year. And then in summertime lacrosse and growing up, you usually play back-to-back games. But high pressure, a little more physical, a little more intense. So playoffs are a little bit more of a grind in the body, but I think it's exciting. Whether you win or whether you lose, it's nice to get right back at it and have a chance 2 days later. So we're just excited to get going.
Last minute of play in this show. So I'm going to ask you this. If we have you back on the show in 2 weeks from now and you guys are moving on, the reason the Buffalo Bandits would beat Toronto in the next round would be what?
That we play our game. We dictate. So whether that's our defensive system or our offensive system, we play true to who we are. We've been successful with it in the past, and that's what we're doing the last handful of games here, and that's why we're making a good push at the end.
You feel you can play like an offensive, highly offensive game, but also lock it down if you have to?
Yeah, I think we're one of the best 5-on-5 teams in the league. Our defense plays so tight and gets Vino his shots that he wants to see. And then offensively, we need to put people on their heels. We have so many dynamic threats and guys that can go off for 4 goals a game. So we just need to dictate there.
Okay, quickly, 20 seconds. 2 games in the NHL tonight. The Stars host the Golden Knights and the Oilers host the Kings. Who wins?
Oilers, Golden Knights.
Okay, Oilers and Golden Knights, you heard it here. Good luck and against Toronto. Thanks for joining the show. We'll be back tomorrow on Sabres Live when Bills Live is next.
Thank you.